This video was made for educational purposes. The history of Israel covers an area of the southern Levant also known as Canaan, Palestine, or the Holy Land, which is the geographical location of the modern states of Israel and Palestine. From a prehistory as part of the critical Levantine corridor, which witnessed waves of early humans out of Africa, to the emergence of Natufian culture c. 10th millennium BCE, the region entered the Bronze Age c. 2000 BCE with the development of Canaanite civilization, before being vassalized by Egypt in the Late Bronze Age. In the Iron Age, the kingdoms of Israel and Judah were established, entities that were central to the origins of the Jewish and Samaritan peoples as well as the Abrahamic faith tradition. This has given rise to Judaism, Samaritanism, Christianity, Islam, Druzeism, Bahaism, and a variety of other religious movements. Throughout the course of human history, the land of Israel has come under the sway or control of various polities and, as a result, it has historically hosted a wide variety of ethnic groups. If you like this video, subscribe to this channel. In the following centuries, the Assyrian, Babylonian, and Persian empires conquered the region. The Ptolemies and the Seleucids vied for control over the region during the Hellenistic period. However, with the establishment of the Hasmonean dynasty, the local Jewish population maintained independence for a century before being incorporated into the Roman Republic. As a result of the Jewish-Roman wars in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE, many Jews were killed, displaced, or sold into slavery. Following the advent of Christianity, which was adopted by the Greco-Roman world under the influence of the Roman Empire, the region's demographics shifted towards newfound Christians, who replaced Jews as the majority of the population by the 4th century. However, shortly after Islam was consolidated across the Arabian Peninsula under Muhammad, Byzantine Christian rule over the land of Israel was superseded by the Arab conquest of the Levant in the 7th century. From the 11th century to the 13th century, the land of Israel became the center for intermittent religious wars between Christian and Muslim armies as part of the Crusades. In the 13th century, the land of Israel became subject to the Mongol invasions and conquests, though these were locally routed by the Mamluk Sultanate, under whose rule it remained until the 16th century. The Mamluks were eventually defeated by the Ottoman Empire, and the region became an Ottoman province until the 20th century. The late 19th century saw the widespread consolidation of a Jewish nationalist movement known as Zionism, as part of which Aliyah, Jewish return to the land of Israel from the diaspora, increased. During World War I, the Sinai and Palestine campaign of the Allies led to the partitioning of the Ottoman Empire. Britain was granted control of the region by League of Nations mandate, in what became known as Mandatory Palestine. The British government publicly committed itself to the creation of a Jewish homeland. Arab nationalism opposed this design, asserting Arab rights over the former Ottoman territories and seeking to prevent Jewish migration. As a result, Arab-Jewish tensions grew in the succeeding decades of British administration. In 1948, the Israeli Declaration of Independence sparked the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, which resulted in the 1948 Palestinian expulsion and flight and subsequently led to waves of Jewish emigration from other parts of the Middle East. Today, approximately 43% of the global Jewish population resides in Israel. In 1979, the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty was signed, based on the Camp David Accords. In 1993, Israel signed the Oslo I Accord with the Palestine Liberation Organization, which was followed by the establishment of the Palestinian National Authority. In 1994, the Israel-Jordan Peace Treaty was signed. Despite efforts to finalize the peace agreement, the conflict continues to play a major role in Israeli and international political, social, and economic life. The oldest evidence of early humans in the territory of modern Israel, dating to 1.5 million years ago, was found in Ubadia near the Sea of Galilee. Flint tool artifacts have been discovered at Yiran, the oldest stone tools found anywhere outside Africa. Other groups include 1.4 million years old Acheulean industry, the Bizat Ruhama group and Gesher Nat Yaakov. In the Mount Carmel area at El Tabun, an Es skull, Neanderthal and early modern human remains were found, showing the longest stratigraphic record in the region, spanning 600,000 years of human activity, from the lower Paleolithic to the present day, representing roughly 1 million years of human evolution. Other notable Paleolithic sites include Caves Kizum and Manat. The oldest fossils of anatomically modern humans found outside Africa are the skull and Kafsa hominids, who lived in northern Israel 120,000 years ago. Around 10th millennium BCE, the Natufian culture existed in the area. The Canaanites are archaeologically attested in the Middle Bronze Age, 2100 to 1550 BCE. There were probably independent or semi-independent city-states. Cities were often surrounded by massive earthworks, resulting in the archaeological tells common in the region today. In the late Middle Bronze Age, the Nile Delta in Egypt was settled by Canaanites who maintained close connections with Canaan. During that period, the Hyksos, dynasties of Canaanite Asiatic origin, ruled much of Lower Egypt before being overthrown in the 16th century BCE. During the Late Bronze Age, 1550 to 1200 BCE, there were Canaanite vassal states paying tribute to the new kingdom of Egypt, which governed from Gaza. In 1457 BCE, Egyptian forces under the command of Pharaoh Thutmose III defeated a rebellious coalition of Canaanite vassal states led by Kadesh's king at the Battle of Megiddo. In the Late Bronze Age, there was a period of civilizational collapse in the Middle East. Canaan fell into chaos, and Egyptian control ended. There is evidence that urban centers such as Hazor, Beit Shean, Megiddo, Ekron, Istid and Ascalon were damaged or destroyed. Two groups appear at this time, and are associated with the transition to the Iron Age. They used iron weapons tools which were better than earlier Bronze the Sea peoples, particularly the Philistines, who migrated from the Aegean world and settled on the southern coast, and the Israelites, whose settlements dotted the highlands. The earliest recorded evidence of a people by the name of Israel, as YSRR, occurs in the Egyptian Merneptah stele, erected for Pharaoh Merneptah, son of Ramesses II, c. 1209 BCE, which states Israel is laid waste and his seed is not. Archaeological evidence indicates that during the early Iron Age hundreds of small villages were established on the highlands of Canaan on both sides of the Jordan River, primarily in Samaria, north of Jerusalem. These villages had populations of up to 400, were largely self-sufficient and lived from herding, grain cultivation, and growing vines and olives with some economic interchange. The pottery was plain and undecorated. Writing was known and available for recording, even in small sites. William G. Dever sees this Israel in the Central Highlands as a cultural and probably political entity, more an ethnic group rather than an organized state. Modern scholars believe that the Israelites and their culture branched out of the Canaanite peoples and their cultures through the development of a distinct monolithistic, and later monotheistic, religion centered on a national god Yahweh. According to McNutt, it is probably safe to assume that sometime during Iron Age a population began to identify itself as Israelite, differentiating itself from the Canaanites through such markers as the prohibition of intermarriage, an emphasis on family history and genealogy, and religion. Philistine cooking tools and the prevalence of pork in their diets, and locally made Mycenaean pottery, which later evolved into bichrome Philistine pottery, all support their foreign origin. Their cities were large and elaborate, which, together with the findings, point out to a complex, hierarchical society. In the 10th century BCE, the Israelite kingdoms of Judah and Israel emerged. The Hebrew Bible states that these were preceded by a single kingdom ruled by Saul, David and Solomon, who is said to have built the first temple. Archaeologists have debated whether the united monarchy ever existed, with those in favor of such a polity existing further divided between maximalists who support the biblical accounts, and minimalists who argue that any such polity was likely smaller than suggested. Historians and archaeologists agree that the northern kingdom of Israel existed by ca. 900 BCE and the kingdom of Judah existed by ca. 850 BCE. The kingdom of Israel was the more prosperous of the two kingdoms and soon developed into a regional power. During the days of the Omride dynasty, it controlled Samaria, Galilee, the upper Jordan Valley, the Sharon and large parts of the Transjordan. Samaria, the capital, was home to one of the largest Iron Age structures in the Levant. The kingdom of Israel's capital moved between Shechem, Penuel and Tirzah before Omri settled it in Samaria, and the royal succession was often settled by a military coup d'état. The kingdom of Judah was smaller but more stable. The Davidic dynasty ruled the kingdom for the 4 centuries of its existence, with the capital always in Jerusalem, controlling the Judean mountains, most of the Shephelah and the Beersheba valley in the northern Negev. In 854 BCE, according to Assyrian records, the Kirk monoliths, an alliance between Ahab of Israel and Ben-Hadad II of Aram Damascus managed to repulse the incursions of the Assyrians, with a victory at the Battle of Karkar. This is not reported in the Bible, which describes conflict between Ahab and Ben-Hadad. Another important discovery of the period is the Mesha stele, a Moabite stele found in Dibon when Emir Sattam Alphaez led Henry Tristram to it as they toured the lands of the vassals of the Bani Sakar. The stele is now in the Louvre. In the stele, Mesha, king of Moab, tells how Chemosh, the god of Moab, had been angry with his people and had allowed them to be subjugated to the kingdom of Israel, but at length, Chemosh returned and assisted Mesha to throw off the yoke of Israel and restore the lands of Moab. It refers to Omri, king of Israel, to the god Yahweh, and may contain another early reference to the house of David. Jehu, this is the part 1 of this documentary. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more videos coming up.